And this is Mike Elko taking a not so veiled shot at Jimbo Fisher.
Yeah, I think it's the way we talk to the young people. I think the things that we talk about, the messaging, how we bring really good people into the building. We talk about doing things together. We talk about culture, and everyone talks about it. But then we go out and we live it every day. And I think we back up our actions. We're very honest. We're very open, and this is a real program. It's not fake. It's not a politician running this program, talking fast and BSing everybody. This is a real program. And for all the recruits out there, this is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, yeah, I think it's.
Yeah.
Is that out of line, Caleb? He's talking about Jimbo Fisher clearly.
He's so clearly talking about Jimbo Fisher, and some people were debating, was this Bush League to take the shot at Jimbo Fisher? And I am going to say no. And the reason I'm going to say no is because of this reason. Texas A&M has had a pretty bad reputation of either hiring dumb coaches, let's just call it what it is, or coaches that, quite honestly, didn't do the necessary things that should be necessary to run a program. And what I mean by that is, not just Jimbo Fisher, but let's start with Jimbo Fisher. Jimbo Fisher was exactly what he said. Spoke like a politician, BS'd everybody, was honestly lazy when he was at Texas A&M. The vibe you're giving me, Dave, is Jimbo Fisher got his national title and then got lazy after that.
No, let me not just give you a vibe. Let me say, Jimbo Fisher got lucky, won a national title with Jameis Winston, who, by the way, made an appearance in the NFL. I was like, isn't he 58? But anyway, yes, and then he got lazy. So I don't want to make any inference. I want to come out and make the statement that Jimbo Fisher got his national championship and got lazy.
Okay, I'm down with that. Before Jimbo Fisher, though, let's not forget this, was Kevin Sumlin. Now, I'm going to say this up front. In 2010, I advocated heavily for Tennessee hiring Kevin Sumlin.
I thought it was a great hire for A&M. I thought Tennessee should hire him too. I'm not 100% sure what went wrong there, but I don't want us to always, like say in retrospect, but in retrospect, I will admit I thought that was a great hire. Would have been a good hire for Tennessee. I never liked the Fisher hire.
Yeah, I agree. So I was big on the Sumlin hire. And for those who don't know, a guest of ours that you guys may be familiar with, Fred White, Kevin Sumlin is his cousin. And he told us that. It must have been last year. And I don't even think he denies that this happened. Kevin Sumlin, here's what went wrong. When he entered, remember, he took over Texas A&M. They were a 6-6 program and coming off the Big 12 into the SEC. He's already got a lot of pressure on him. He's got Johnny Manziel. Johnny Manziel has behavioral issues. Kevin Sumlin, because of the pressure of being in the SEC and knowing what he's dealing with, it's kind of well documented. Just let Johnny Manziel run loose. And by virtue of letting Johnny Manziel run loose, Davey had to let the whole team run wild.
Mm-hmm.
And by letting the whole team run wild, he had no control over that program. He tried to restart himself at Arizona, but Dave, you know this. Once you develop that reputation as a coach, you don't get respect from players wherever you go, right? And
totally agree. Once you realize that you can play and stay on the field and discipline doesn't matter. I'm not saying that Philip Fulmer got his championship and was happy, but I am saying that he let discipline slip, and that was a problem.
It was. Kevin Sumlin was letting it slip for Johnny Manziel. Because he did that, he had to let it slip for other players. Because he let it slip for other players, he let it slip for future players. Because he let it slip for future players, he let it slip for future quarterbacks who would always transfer if they weren't getting their way. Do you remember the ring of quarterbacks that transferred the minute Kevin Sumlin came down on them a little bit, Dave?
Yes.
Texas A&M. Mm-hmm. And it just kept happening. Then he went to Arizona, and the same problem was happening. Players stopped respecting him, and the reputation preceded him no matter what. That's why Kevin Sumlin ended up not working out. I have no doubt Kevin Sumlin knows ball. He actually is Maryland's offensive coordinator. He knows football. He's a great play caller. He knows offense to this day. You get him in a room, Dave, he could probably draw up plays better than anybody in college football.
By the way, no offense to Caleb went to Tennessee and Maryland. No offense to one of your alma maters, but that's proof Kevin Sumlin that if you are an African American coach, you don't get the best opportunity in the get, and you may never get a second shot. Because I'm sorry, he is way better than being the offensive coordinator at Maryland. No offense to your Terps.
No, I mean he is, but the problem was he failed at Arizona so badly too after Texas A&M.
True.
And so that's why he's at Maryland now. And I think that Kevin Sumlin is reflective in the same way Jimbo Fisher is of not doing the necessary behind-the-scenes things to run a program at Texas A&M. So Texas A&M comes across, Dave, as a gadget program, as a program that's all flash and no substance. And I think Mike Elko is saying what he's saying because he has to emphasize this is a real program, guys.
Let me ask you this: when it actually happened. Okay, I want to make a Tennessee comparison, and maybe it's a poll question, maybe it's not. It's brought to you by the Hemp House, the premier hemp dispensary online with a wide variety, great selection, and strict standards. Hemp House Chat with 2Ts.com, Hemp House Chat with 2Ts.com. Use the promo code HOOKED for 10% off, and we appreciate it. Hooked for 10% off. Worst hire, rank them at the time: Jeremy Pruitt, Butch Jones, Derek Dooley, Jimbo Fisher.
On its face, Derek Dooley was the worst hire. Far and away. The guy had, by the way, I've actually defended Derek Dooley in the past because I felt that he had a lot of things working against him, but he had a losing record at Louisiana Tech.
Okay.
How do you hire that guy?
Agreed. Okay, who's next?
Second to me, and you said Butch Jones, Jeremy Pruitt. Second to me is Jimbo Fisher because he was losing control of the program, and it was a known thing he was losing control of the program. And by the way,
you mean at Florida State?
At Florida State, yeah. And by the way, the reason you could tell that was Bobby Bowden, at the time was alive, was coming out and just trashing the state of the program.
Yeah, I'm actually with Paul. I'm going to go Jeremy Pruitt, then Derek Dooley, then Butch Jones, but I'm actually going to have Jimbo Fisher at number one because of what I knew behind the scenes. We weren't doing a daily show then. I was just writing, I think for ESPN at the time. So, but I knew how bad he was doing at Florida State. And let's not forget, he went to A&M, yes, and there was NIL money to spend. But Caleb, you didn't know that NIL money was there. So did you expect him to really go to Texas A&M and recruit against Texas and Oklahoma and all the other states that recruit there and win when he hadn't recruited at Florida State for like 2 years?
No.
I never expected that.
And also, he didn't come. We talked about Kevin Sumlin with Johnny Manziel. Jimbo Fisher was way more of an enabler for Jameis Winston. I mean, way more. And I'm not talking about the serious charges that were against him. That was a he said, she said situation that the police totally mishandled. Can we agree with that? That's the fault of the Tallahassee Police Department, and they should all have been fired for how they handled that, and the investigative team. They just botched that. I don't think you can do much if you're Jimbo Fisher because you don't have any evidence.
Let me retort with this. If he's a third string defensive tackle, is he suspended?
Possibly. Here's my issue with this. It's all the other stuff he did. The crab legs, the standing on the table and say F-er right in the, all of that stuff. So, but Dave, I want to get back to just Mike Elko real quick. Do you see the way I see where Mike Elko has to let people know that Texas A&M is not an all-flash program, and that's what he's trying to shed the perception of A&M, given what the coaches have let it be?
Yes. Yes, and I think, too, that he's also setting a new standard of which you don't call Texas A&M as a prospect and expect to just get paid. Now, that's going to be a part of the equation, but it's why I love what Josh Heupel has done at Tennessee. Sure, that's a part of the equation, and you can match checkbook for checkbook with what anybody spends when you're at a school like Tennessee. But ultimately, it has to be more than that because that money's going to eventually level itself out. A quarterback's going to be worth X. A five-star offensive tackle is going to be worth X. And then it comes down to player evaluation. Is that five-star worth the five-star? Or should you go with another four-star? And he should get – but the money's going to even itself out, and to some extent already has. So you need to – your message – and Josh Heupel was way ahead of the curve. Way ahead of the curve. It needs to be about something else. And with him, it's about culture.
You're right. And by the way, I want to put a very quick phrase he said in here. because this applies to Texas A&M. And guys, this is one of the reasons Texas A&M has overachieved, or I'm sorry, not overachieved, underachieved for so many decades, okay? Quick history lesson real quick. You know the real reason, Dave, that Bear Bryant took his players to Junction and did that brutal, almost death sentence workout for 10 days?
They're soft.
Not only were they soft, Bear Bryant hated the oil executives that were the boosters at Texas A&M. He hated them. And because he said that they basically created a soft culture of spoiling the players. Because the boosters, basically, oil executive boosters are the stupidest people known to man, and they think they're smart. And they try to take over everything. You know this as a Cowboy fan. So they were trying to run Texas A&M, and Bear Bryant was so frustrated with it, he said, F this, I'm taking them away from everybody, no visitors, and he damn near killed the players doing it. When Mike Elko straight up said, not a politician running the program, that's a subtle jab at politicians do whatever the donors say. I'm not going to do what my oil donors say. You oil donors better back the F off. I'm running this program, okay, if you want to win. And I'll say this, I've always had my theory on Ivy League coaches working out, because most coaches I'm not as high on their IQs as you guys know. My proof of this, I think Mike Elko, without the scandal stuff, can we at least say that Joe Paterno, he was an Ivy League coach? Can we take the Sandusky stuff out of it, Dave? Is it fair to say that what Joe Paterno did at Penn State, that's not a school that should have had those accomplishments? It took a smart coach to do that.
Yeah, no, I'll agree with that.